Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really complex set of sources on global conflicts. Our mission, it's simple really, connect the dots.
Right.
Between crises that often seem totally separate,
Right.
we're looking at the energy war heating up in Ukraine, some high-stakes diplomacy happening in Washington, and also a devastating siege in Sudan that's, well, almost invisible.
Exactly. We want to cut through all the noise,
Mhm.
not just list what happened, but understand why. Why the pressure points matter, whether it's, physical force on infrastructure or political arm twisting for territory.
And see how those consequences ripple out.
Precisely. Across humanitarian, economic landscapes,
Mhm.
it's all connected.
Okay, so let's start with this pretty startling development out of Eastern Europe. A huge Russian attack trapped almost 200 miners underground.
And then Ukraine hits back
Yeah.
hard. A strike 1,700 kilometers inside Russia, impacting Western businesses. Quite a statement.
Right, let's unpack that. So the first hit was on DTEK, Ukraine's biggest private energy firm.
Yeah, they reported a major Russian strike hit one of their coal mines, Dnipropetrovsk region.
And the immediate danger was those miners, 192 people underground.
Thankfully, DTEK managed a big evacuation. Got everyone out safe, which is, good news.
Definitely.
But looking bigger picture, this fits a pattern. DTEK said it's the fourth major attack on their coal mines, just in the last, 8 weeks?
Wow, 4 in 8 weeks.
It really suggests Russia is ramping up attacks on critical energy stuff before winter hits, using the cold as a weapon, basically.
Okay, so that's the Russian move. Now, Ukraine's response. That's where it gets really interesting strategically, not just hitting back near the front.
No, this was long range. Sources confirmed a drone strike deep inside Russia on the Orenburg gas processing plant.
And the distance is key here, isn't it?
Absolutely. 1,700 kilometers from the border. That's a long reach.
Yeah.
But the economic impact, that's the really big story here.
Go on.
See, that specific plant, it processes gas from Kazakhstan, from the Karachaganak field. Huge field.
Ah,
So the moment that plant got hit, Kazakhstan had to cut its own oil and gas production
yeah.
immediately by 25 to 30%.
It's 25 to 30%. That's significant.
It is. And here's why it matters globally, why you should care. The group running that Kazakh field includes Western giants: Chevron, Shell, Eni.
Ah, so this wasn't just Russia taking a hit.
Not at all. It was, you could say, economic warfare that instantly tangled up multinational operations. Creates consequences far beyond the battlefield.
Okay. Now, we also need to cover the claims from the Russian side, impartially, of course.
Right. The Ministry of Defense put out their summary. They're claiming they liberated Lenino in Donetsk
Okay.
and improved their tactical positions elsewhere. Donetsk, Kharkov, Kherson regions. Standard claims, really.
They also listed equipment they say they destroyed, German armored vehicle, some other armor trucks.
Yeah, the list was pretty detailed. 10 armored vehicles total, 46 trucks, 13 artillery pieces, 9 electronic warfare stations, 9 ammo depots.
Quite
And they added targeted strikes on energy facilities tied to the military industry, drone storage, troop spots. Plus, they claimed 129 Ukrainian drones shot down and 3 smart bombs intercepted.
Right.
Standard battlefield reports, you have to take them as claims.
Right. So that long-distance strike, it definitely signals capability, potential escalation, but even that kind of military reach doesn't stop the political pressure, which seems intense right now in Washington.
Yeah, let's shift there. That meeting between Trump's team and the Ukrainian delegation sounds like it was difficult.
Intense was the word used, and the Ukrainians left visibly frustrated.
And according to sources, that frustration came from some pretty aggressive pressure behind the scenes.
Trump's team, led by Steve Witkoff apparently, really pushed Zelenskyy, pushed him hard to cede territory.
Cede territory to Russia. Wow, one source called the conversation very bad.
Yeah, claiming the message was basically an ultimatum. Something like, your country will freeze, your country will be destroyed if you don't make a deal.
That's incredibly blunt.
It is. And this apparently came after Trump spoke with Putin. Sources suggest Putin proposed a kind of land swap.
Okay, what was the proposed swap?
Russia pulls back from small parts of Zaporizhia and Kherson, but in return, Ukraine formally gives up Donetsk and Luhansk.
And that was the deal Witkoff's team
It
pushed.
seems so, reportedly using arguments about, the Russian-speaking populations in the east.
So, from Ukraine's perspective, what's the thinking on accepting something like that?
Politically, they see it as suicide, giving up the parts of Donetsk and Luhansk they still hold. They believe it just leaves the rest of the country wide open, more vulnerable later.
Makes sense.
Zelenskyy said it publicly too, something like, Ukraine will never give Russia any reward for its crimes. They frame it as rewarding aggression, not finding peace.
Okay, so that's the intense pressure there. Now, staying with this theme of lines and control, let's move across the Med to Gaza. Reports of Israeli tank fire near a ceasefire line.
Yes, in Gaza City, Tufa suburb. Doctors said 3 people were killed.
And Israel confirmed the incident.
They did. Said it was targeting militants who crossed what they're now calling the yellow line. It's a new thing Israel's setting up. Physically placing yellow blocks, apparently, as troops pull back from some areas.
Yellow blocks. But the problem is confusion.
Massive confusion on the ground, yeah.
Yeah.
Residents living in rubble, basically. They're saying they can't even see these lines. They don't know where they are.
Which is incredibly dangerous if rules of engagement depend on lines people can't identify.
Exactly. Huge risk for civilians.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you've got Witkoff and Jared Kushner back in Israel pushing a peace plan phase 2, Egypt mediating with Hamas in Cairo. But there's just total mistrust all around.
Okay. We've talked about pressure from drones, pressure in diplomatic rooms.
But the place where the pressure of, well, global attention seems to disappear, that's where human cost can be most profound. And that brings us to Fashir, Darfur, Sudan.
Right. This city, the last Sudanese army stronghold against the RSF paramilitary group, under siege for how long?
Over 500 days. It's brutal. And it gets drastically less attention than, well, pretty much anything else we've discussed.
500 days.
And it's a terrible example of what happens when the world looks away. The siege is so bad, civilians are literally digging shelters underground, hiding from drones, hiding from shelling that hits clinics, mosques, camps for displaced people.
They're living underground to survive.
Pretty much. Journalists and residents share these just terrifying details. People walk glued to the walls like a gecko, trying not to be seen by drones.
Oh my God.
Funerals only happened late at night or very early morning, under cover of darkness.
And the famine situation.
It's beyond extreme. Activists said people were already eating ombus, that's animal feed, just to survive. And now even that is gone, unavailable.
Unbelievable.
There was some grim recent numbers, too, from the shelters. 18 people killed in just 1 week at a school shelter.
18!
And 57 deaths, including 17 children, at a university complex shelter. That was after attacks reportedly aimed right at the mosque, right after prayers.
That's horrific.
There was a quote from an aid volunteer. It just summed it up. Fashir is basically lifeless, but leaving is even more dangerous than staying. They're trapped. Immense pressure above ground and below.
Just trapped.
Yeah.
Okay, one last point on global maneuvering, briefly. U.S.-Iran relations. Any movement there?
Well, Iran's foreign ministry confirmed they are exchanging messages with the U.S. through intermediaries. But they were quick to say calling it negotiation is premature. Too early.
So messages, but not talks yet.
Right. And interestingly, they laid out a condition, sort of philosophical one. Said negotiations only start when parties, quote, respect one another's positions and are ready to consider the interests one of the others on equal footing.
Equal footing.
Yeah. They framed it as wanting dialogue, not, quote, dictatorship. Which, you know, when you think back to the pressure described in that Washington meeting with the Ukrainians.
It resonates differently, doesn't it? That demand for equal footing.
It really does. It puts that aggressive, maybe zero-sum approach into sharp contrast.
Okay, so let's try to pull these threads together for everyone listening.
Yeah, the core theme seems to be this uneven application of pressure. You see the economic leverage from long-range strikes in Ukraine.
Leading to that intense political pressure for land concessions in Washington.
Right. And the sources really underscore how conflict consequences just don't care about borders. Or, maybe more importantly, about media attention spans.
While these high-stakes talks dominate headlines in one place,
silent, literally subterranean tragedies are happening elsewhere, like in Sudan, completely overlooked.
So what's the takeaway here? We've seen intense pressure on energy grids, diplomatic teams, confusing border lines.
And we've seen the devastating result where the pressure of global attention is basically zero, forcing people underground just to survive.
We talked about people living beneath the surface, literally, physically in Sudan, metaphorically perhaps, under aggressive political demands in Washington. Think about the sheer silence around Fashir compared to the volume, the noise around the debate over Donetsk and Luhansk. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which crises are we allowing to be buried? And what power does that lack of attention actually give to those driving the conflict? What stands out most to you?
Something to consider.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the source material. We'll see you next time.